Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's SD Times live micro webinar series with value stream management platform provider ConnectALL. Today, we're going to be talking about how integrating tools and automating processes can help ensure compliance in regulated environments. Joining me today for the discussion is Lance Knight, as always. He's president and COO at ConnectALL. Thanks for being here, Lance.
Hey, Dave. It's always my pleasure to spend 5 minutes with you and
Yep.
get some chuckles out and give some good information.
Absolutely. All right. So let's get going. As you noted, regulated
Dave, don't forget
industries.
Norm's with us too.
Oh, Norm. Good luck. There he is. This is 2 in a row that I've blown the interviews. Horrible. Hello, Norm Miglietta. He's the vice president of marketing at ConnectALL. Did I get that right?
You got it.
All right. Good. Glad to hear that. All right. So, that's a minute we've just blown off. But anyway, so regulated industries, finance, healthcare, all these guys face huge consequences if they fail to comply with the regulations that are put upon them. So, Lance, if you could, how does integrating a whole lot of disparate tools help these organizations with compliance?
Well, it's interesting, when I sat down to put this together, and I just shared my screen, and I only got a few minutes, I thought through this, and what's interesting is this, when you think about governance and compliance, and you think about value stream management, you think about tool integration and all of that, what came to me was how to relay a message of hidden activities, things you can't see that go on inside your software delivery value stream. And it's this right here, right? So when you think about being compliant, when you think about putting regulations in, a lot of activities that occur as you're developing software occur in there, not in, it's in the Ethernet, it's in ones and zeros, it's in computers, and you can't really see those things happening. When you bring code out, you check it out from a system and you start working on it. It's not like you take a part off the shelf, you look at it, make sure it's in form and all of that. So when you think about the value stream itself, it's invisible. So how do we in a regulated type of way ensure that processes and methods and things are being followed when you're working software development and delivery? And the biggest problem, I think, with this is really what I would call the human factor. Now, the human factor is really interesting, right? So humans do a lot of the programming, coding, and so on. But when you start to move things from different solutions, like different tickets from one system to another, when you decide based upon certain things whether you're going to do a build or not, or all those different things that you want to make sure that you have traceability, understanding, and connectivity, all those things, that's where automation and integration come into play. Now, the other part that I want to talk about when you think about that is when you look at your value stream, it's got plan, build, run, all of that's in there, but I think you need to go a level deeper. And you've heard me talk about having a governance model. So with a governance model, you can understand the flow of work, and then I can remove waste or ensure things happen with automation and technology within the value stream, right? So this is a 3-tiered governance model, the information flow where requests come in, and that flows all the way through to code and production. Now, what's important is that you're able to connect all those together. And with disparate systems, it's hard to know. It's hard to know if those things are flowing through, whether they're connected in this way, whether those epics relate to those stories, and whether I should put something into production because it passed a scan or not. So you can build governance and regulation within the system with automation and integration in a tool like this, removing the so-called, the human factor of understanding what thing is at what state and then interpreting the data and making decisions. You can look at it through this type of way and look at your governance type of play. If you don't have a governance model, I suggest that you get one so that you can look at that, right? And see that everything's connected. And so this is a great illustration of understanding governance models and so on. And as these things that you're working are moving through, they all have to have their own data that's getting collected. It has to be aggregated and put together through the process and so on. And then a defect comes back. Where'd that come from? So by connecting and by understanding your governance model and then connecting all your tools, you have visibility. Right? So I'm starting to understand where these things are. And I just now put tools in that, right? So in version 1, I'm handling this part of it, and I'm ensuring that flow is happening in this way. If something doesn't meet a certain gate or standard, I don't move it forward. I can push it back. That's automation to ensure that you're following your own standards that you need to in order to do, to be compliant with things like CMMI and all those other things, and then manage it. So value stream management solutions sit on top of the value stream and able to look at the whole flow of information in the governance and then decide when things can move or not move, helping to remove some of that human factor that I talked about. And that in turn ensures that you're compliant with your own governance and the governance you need for those things. And then also lets you be more efficient because I'm starting to do things more efficiently through that. So that's what automation integration can do for regulated industries, is help support the things that you've put in place so that you can be more effective and remove a little of that human factor that can slow you down, right? I'm waiting for an approval to move that in production. Well, you can look at all the different systems. Did it get this scan at the right level? All these tolerance, and you can use these types of solutions to solve those problems. And it really helps when you think about that human factor I talked about earlier, where try to take it where you can take those human decisions and put those into the automation and into the system and let your management and human people in this space of integrated systems just handle the exceptions and make decisions based on those. So there's my slides on that. I'm sure that spirited a lot of questions from you, Dave.
Certainly. I know one of the big regulatory issues that organizations really have a tough time dealing with is how they handle their data and where they can move it, how they can ship it to someplace. And just looking at the model that you put up there, it seems that that would be super helpful in making sure that if I'm a developer and I need to access certain data for my application, and then I want to have some of that visible to people who are using my application, I need to be able to make sure that that meets, for instance, a HIPAA regulation or some financial regulation. And using this kind of a model, I think certainly would help make that visible.
Well, some of the challenges when you think about regulated industries are HIPAA data. You think about all those different, PPI data. And if you're sitting on top looking at the information flowing, you can restrict it. For example, with our platform, every one of these solutions, we can put a PPI script in front of them. And if somebody's trying to send PPI data to another system, we can stop it. So that's part of that automation play. But here's the thing. You can't stop it if you're sitting here and you don't know.
Right.
You haven't mapped your value stream, understand how your information flows, and then you come back and say, all right, I need to put some regulation in here. I don't want this piece of code or this release to go into production until these things have happened. And those things can be part of what's required of me as a regulated industry. And then also, if everything's connected, auditors come. They want to understand all this stuff. And so if they're all connected, it's straightforward to run a report to give somebody said, yeah, here's why this piece of code is related to this story. It had these defects. It's all right here laid out. So it really does help.
So the governance is really to be able to not necessarily check everything all the way through, but almost with the exceptions to it, be able to draw attention to it.
Well, it's the ability to be able to validate things without having to have a human piece doing that. Now, the humans manage the value stream, and it's a human thing. But when it comes to automating, that's where they use value stream management platforms to say, I can't move this forward unless these things happen in the value stream. Those things are required as part of my governance so that I can be compliant with these regulations and industries. And
Beautiful.
And the thing about value stream management and value stream management platforms, you weren't able to do that until now. You weren't able to see all that. And so even to the next level of not just my DevOps pipeline and how that's flowing, but let's say I don't want to move something forward unless there was a demanded code review in my process. And we do code reviews to make sure that we're compliant with secure coding practices. All of that can be managed with looking at how things are automated and connected. Right. So at ConnectALL, we have a thing called a logic adapter. And that logic adapter makes things move forward or not move forward in your value stream based upon what may have had to have happened in other systems. That lets you remove the human factor. The human factor is what will let you slow down.
Yeah.
Right. And then that also, it helps
Last point.
stop releases.
Good one. All right. I can see from the clock that we've already blown our deadline.
I'm good at that.
But it's fine because I think this was some real good information for folks in regulated industries. And there's a lot to take away for them. So once again, Lance Knight, President, COO of ConnectALL, and Norman Miglietta, who's the Vice President of Marketing there. Thanks for being with us today. Thanks to all the people listening in. And until next time, I'm again Dave Rubenstein, Editor-in-Chief of SD Times. So long for now.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dave.
Thanks, guys.